So, my husband and I don't make much money, but we decided to start a family anyway. And instead of allowing our income situation to keep us from pursuing our dreams, we used it instead as a launching off point to make sure we were 100% doing the right thing, not just for ourselves, but especially for any children we might bring into the world. And after a year with our daughter, she just recently turned 1, and now we're 25 weeks along expecting our second, we can 100% say with confidence that you can raise a family on a low income and you can do it comfortably. You don't have to be scraping and live in poverty. So if you're someone who has anxiety about the future because you're worried about starting a family and you're low income, I hope this is encouraging to you that you can do it and that starting a family isn't as expensive as a lot of people make it seem. So first of all, I wanted to say that you don't have to have every single thing planned out and every single financial detail figured out before you start a family. It's good to have a general strategy, but you don't have to know every single detail. Do you remember like in high school when people would ask you what your career plan was and what you wanted to do with your life? And it was the most annoying thing. I hated when people would ask me that because I was just a kid. Well, you're still learning and you're still growing and you're still figuring out your life, especially if you're considering having kids and especially as you go through having a child, because having a child is like a rebirth of yourself too. So some things to start looking into would be, where can I get free or very cheap baby items? Do you have any friends that can give you hand-me-downs? Do you have any friends that you could share an item with? Do you have yard sales or Facebook Marketplace or buy nothing groups that you could be a part of? These are great resources to find free or very, very cheap baby items, especially because they go through things so quickly and most things aren't even gonna last that long. Some places even offer free diapers and wipes, even if you're not a crisis situation. I have a couple sources that I get free diapers and wipes from once a month. Even though I'm not a crisis and poverty situation, there are specific funds if you are poverty or a crisis situation. But yeah, if you ask a lot of these sources, just check and make sure they can give you free diapers and wipes. Like churches often have diaper drives, crisis pregnancy centers. These would be great places to look into. That usually tends to be where the most expense comes from. And if you don't have an option for free diapers and wipes in your area, look into the cheapest stores and the best deals that are out there. I know when I was doing the math in my area, the best diaper quality for the money was the Target brand diaper, and I've always waited till they run one of those deals that's like spend $75 and get a $20 gift card. I wait and buy the diapers that I need immediately with that sale. This is just Target, for example, but other places might have super deals too. And also, it's really good to have a savings account or some little cushion of cash set aside so that you have something to fall back on in case of emergency. And it can be completely in proportion to whatever your income or lifestyle is at. And this has been such a great thing for my husband and I, especially like right before and right after having our baby. When things got tight at times, we always knew that we had that money to fall back on in savings just in case we needed it. And thankfully, we haven't even had to touch it yet. But I think that's really wise because there's so much unknowns in the future. And also, let's talk about the medical expenses because that's something you can't get out of. You cannot deny your child medical treatment if they need it. And you really don't know what's going to happen. So it is wise to either have really good health insurance, have a huge savings account, or be part of a health share organization. I think that's what it's called, health share. I don't have one, but I know my friend's part of that, so that you know that your medical expenses will be covered when it needs to be. And a lot of these, like for example, when you're getting billed with insurance, you don't have to pay your bill right away. You usually, I haven't so far when I've delayed payment, like from what the bill says, I haven't ever been penalized for it. And you can actually negotiate to have really, really small payments and pay the bill off way far down the road so that it doesn't hurt you financially. But it is really good to have sort of a game plan and strategy when it comes to medical expenses. I kind of mentioned this already, but is there a way that you can share items with a friend? For example, I had a friend who had a single stroller and a double stroller, and since she wasn't using her single stroller at the moment, she let me borrow that until I found the same brand on the side of the road for free. And it was not a cheap brand. It was the Bob stroller, which retails at like $800 brand new. I found one of those free on the side of the road someone was getting rid of. And so that's just one example of a way that you can save money on really nice items. And it's so great. I think Sharing with friends is such an underrated thing because babies are such consumer items. It's an entire market is like baby items. So if you can save money and be a good steward of the things that you have, we would be wasting so much less. And so I try to be conscious of that too, that I'm not being wasteful and that I'm not encouraging a really consumer focused culture. I'm doing my small part, even if it doesn't make that much of a difference. Another area of expense that hits you pretty early on is when your baby starts eating solid foods. And so my husband and I have done baby-led weaning, which is essentially letting them eat the same meals that you're eating, cut in a different way, maybe less seasonings and stuff. But I don't ever buy baby food. I don't ever buy baby crackers, the baby puffs, any like baby specific marketed things because they are just so insanely expensive and often not even that healthy. The only exception is I buy the pouches because it's such a convenient thing to give to her, and it'll buy me a few minutes where she can feed herself easily, and it's usually not too messy. It's also a great source of vegetables and fruits. Sometimes it's really hard for me to sneak those into her diet. So that's the one area where I make an exception with baby food is the pouches. And I just find wherever I can get it the cheapest. So far I found Aldi is a great place to get the organic ones for 89 cents a pouch. But it does add up. So we really ration out what we give her. So if you're looking into baby food, I would recommend not buying anything, but maybe considering the pouches, especially because it's a good thing to take on the go. And it's something that the baby can feed themselves. And lastly, break down the essentials of what a baby actually needs. A lot of the things that people put on their registries are just convenience items and not actually essentials. If you break down to the very essentials and you realize that all a baby needs is just what every human being needs, food and water, clothing, a place to sleep, then you realize that so many things are unnecessary. And it's not to say you can't have those conveniences, but this is where you go back to my prior tip and find ways to either get those items for free or super cheap. So for example, you really don't need a diaper bag. You can use a regular backpack. You don't have to have burp cloths. You could use a towel. I do have burp cloths, though I got some for free. There's also some caveats, like maybe you have a medical issue where you can't nurse, or your baby's a preemie or high risk and you need to have a bottle sanitizer. Those are things that I would move onto the essential list. But overall, most everything you can find free or cheap, just bump it down the list and put your priorities at the very top, and that's where you want to splurge. So my husband and I were not naive. We know that more expenses are ahead, especially with changing seasons of life, bigger appetites, broken bones, all that good stuff that comes with raising a child. But we're not afraid to face those things because we have good strategies and good mindset as we look into raising a family. And so I hope this was an encouragement to you that if you have any anxiety regarding starting a family on a low income, I hope that my example is a little encouragement to you. In the future, I hope to do a more specific video on how to raise a family. If you don't make anywhere near 6 figures, which is us right now, we don't make anywhere near that, but we are so excited to raise a family. I've found that dealing with this current situation of our life, which is just a temporary one, things can only go up from here, that it's been such an interesting outlet of creativity for me. They say necessity is the mother of invention, and that is 100% true in this case, because I've really gotten to exercise my creativity, figure out what matters, figure out where I need to spend my money, and how to actually budget and be wise and make good decisions and not be impulsive with my dollar. So I hope this is encouraging, and I'd love to hear your thoughts below.